Good morning, everyone. We'll just do the customary 3-minute wait. So we'll start at 3 past the hour and get going over there. Perfect. We're 3 past, so I'll basically get quickly started. So as we do every week, I'm just going to present the updates for this week, and any questions you folks have, please basically post on the group. Um, I would also basically like to kind of announce that we had almost 49 partners who basically kind of participated in these calls last time around, and then we essentially we had created what is called a partner stock plan, partner a phantom stock plan pool, and we made payouts for all of those this thing last week. Um, if any of you basically have not yet basically redeemed your payouts, please do redeem them out. And we will be starting phase 2 right now, where basically, and the whole concept is that we basically want to let you know that we value your contributions, right? So it's easy for me to essentially kind of put in and say that I'll give you a Starbucks coupon or whatever it is, but we essentially don't believe in doing that, but rather essentially give you a piece of uh, ownership in the company, and then basically give you the value from that particular ownership. So we did that for phase 1, where we basically were able to reward almost 49 partners that we essentially had, and we'll be doing the same going forward. We're putting the plans together in terms of the pool, etc. But my request is, please come to these calls, please contribute, and if your contribution essentially is useful to us, we basically will look to reward you in the same way that we've done in the past. So that's essentially what I would like to kind of very clearly articulate. I hear somebody saying that they wanted me to repeat what I just now said. So what I was essentially saying is that we had what is called a partner stock plan, and the partner stock plan basically was to help partners basically monetize their contributions into this product. And we essentially did payouts last week based on the investment that we, as you know, that Peter Bellini has joined us and has invested in the company. So the portion of stock that was essentially kept out for the partners in terms of their contributions was then basically kind of redeemed, and those payouts were made last week. And most of you would have received, who were part of that would have received them. I see a lot of you who are here. I know Adam is one, Jerry is another, Dennis is there. So all of you who basically have Mark, Steve, all of you who have basically contributed to this product, we basically made sure that we basically kind of made it worth your while. But the pool is basically only becoming bigger, and we would like to essentially invite contributions from all of you as we go into the phase 2 of this product, in which we are doing as Connect Secure. And trust me, as we basically move forward, we'll make it more than worth your while in terms of the numbers. We had maximum 5-digit numbers this time, and we're hoping to make these 6-digit numbers in the next time when we essentially do payouts for partners. So with that, let me basically start off for this week's updates. So what did we basically went through a whole bunch of changes last week, including, for example, Windows 11 compatibility checks, etc. And Dennis and others basically pointed out some of the issues with how we were basically doing those checks, and those were resolved. So all of those changes have gone live last week, except for two things. One is the notification settings. We are essentially working on migrating existing notification rules. And the second is basically configurations for ConnectWise. These two will essentially go live early next week, including the attaching of the configurations to the tickets. And basically, one of the biggest persons who has essentially helped us build this feature is essentially Sean Miller. So we'll essentially kind of put that on record. Notification rules will go live on Friday. All the changes, including including these notification rules, will go live on all the on-prem instances. And Adam, you had asked for this. So I've been working with the team to essentially make sure that this compatibility is met. So we will essentially be migrating and basically pushing all the updates over this weekend to all of the on-prem instances. We did have a couple of instances last week where we had a lot of disturbance in terms of accessing the portal. There were 2 instances where we had complete Redis cluster failures in US East 2. We had 2 Kubernetes node cluster failures in US East 2 and US West 2 last week. So while these are essentially fundamentally, we've given this to AWS to root cause, and they have given us some workarounds, and we've implemented those workarounds. However, one of the things that we see is that people feel that we are not essentially being transparent about what is the service status and basically putting that out over. So with that in mind, we basically, in this call, we are launching what is called a status page. So if you essentially go to this URL, status.mycybercns.com, you will essentially see the status of every single service that we are running and whether it's up and running or not running. So it's a real-time status page that we've essentially made live on this page. And this essentially will go live right after this call. So basically, you can either in the dark theme or the light theme, you essentially have the complete status. So if the service is running, this is the status. If there is a service disruption, then you will see those icons. And if the data is completely, if there's an outage, then you will see the third icon, which is a cross icon. And in case we're not able to pull data from that particular service, you will see the 4th icon, which says no data is available. So this page is basically scheduled to go live in the next few hours, but we realize that we need to essentially provide you with this status so that it is very clear to you as to whether the services are working or not. So this is something that we've done. The second thing which I wanted to kind of quickly go through is that we are basically in the process of building and releasing the new Connect Secure UI. So this essentially will be how the new Connect Secure UI will be looking like. So essentially this has the complete redefined theme, a more gentler theme. And second, what we are also basically allowing you is a lot more options for you to white label and basically put content on the screen. So that's essentially what we're working on. Every single screen, you will be able to kind of change the theme and change the look and feel and basically be able to white label it. So that's essentially something that we are very consciously kind of putting it in there so that it is easier for you. Third, one of the things that we essentially kind of went through and we kind of ideated is that we have a lot of the current dashboards that we have in terms of saying, okay, we have the Kibana dashboards, etc. But what is happening is that we are essentially seeing that repeatedly, you need some sort of a dashboard which essentially says what is happening and what is the summary of things that I have to do. And again, all of these basically are things which are click-throughs. So this is essentially a page that we've created which talks about what are the tasks, what are the issues, what are the things that you need from a remediation perspective, what are the summaries of remediation, and all of those details. So this essentially is kind of a dashboard. Gives us two advantages. One is basically it loads very quickly because it is basically from our data and it is not the Kibana dashboards that are loading. And again, we also basically are going to be putting up things like the ability to move between this week versus last week and this month versus last month. So kind of basically being able to move from current state to previous state and getting data in there. We are also basically kind of categorizing the different menu items instead of keeping it as a flat menu structure. So you can see some of the categorizations that we're working on. So the way that this new UI is going to be released is that this will be released in a new domain, which is called myconnectsecure.com, and basically will be available for all the partners, right? And so we'll give you adequate time to basically kind of get acclimatized to this particular UI. And only when everybody is basically kind of comfortable, you're switching over, you can switch over to the new UI. And so any training and anything that is required from your side, you will have adequate time to do it. But I'm just giving this as a preview so that everybody can be ready for the fact that this new UI is coming and it is coming quite fast. So these are basically other screenshots of UI. So basically some interesting charts in terms of spider charts and all of those pieces. And again, you will get back your old Kibana dashboards, etc. We're not removing it, but essentially we are making these a little bit of not the primary citizens, but basically the next level citizens, so that you can basically quickly get to this thing, get to the data. Again, one of the things that we're working through continuously is the fact that we want every piece of data that's there to be clicked through, which is you click on the number, you can get to the actual data and basically see what is the underlying data for it. So if I say there are 34 assets which need to be remediated, you click on it, you can see 34 assets. So that's essentially kind of the work that we're doing behind the scenes to essentially make this platform more usable. We do understand that there are quite a few people from a competitive perspective who have come into the fray, who have a much better looking user interface, and we are basically stepping up to that challenge. However, one of the things that we would like to really call out is every other tool, basically, when they call themselves as a vulnerability management tool, they do only two things, which is get the assets and show you the vulnerabilities. But this is one tool that is comprehensive. It does it end to end for you. It takes your vulnerability scans, it takes your internal scans, external scans, it does your firewall scans, it then does your AD scans, and all of those pieces, and gives you one comprehensive report. So while I understand that there are areas that we can significantly improve, but this tool that we are basically building together is essentially an all-in-one tool, which essentially allows you to manage the entire subset. And what we will do is to basically make this even more valuable to you in terms of bringing in more functions, both from, for example, doing the PII scans, doing the cloud scans, and basically bringing all this information together in one portal. And that is essentially the idea that we're basically bringing this together. So with that next, so the next thing is that you will be able to, I described this earlier also, but the ability to be able to customize your user interfaces without having to basically talk to us or anybody else, basically will be provided. So you can change the layouts, you can change the settings, you can change how the menus look. You can have top menus on top, you can have menus on the left. So all of those settings basically are going to be part of this. So that way, you can have your own individual look for all of these pieces, right? So this is essentially kind of the view of the asset view inside of the new themes. So again, the light background, the dark background. So these essentially are kind of the things that we're working on right now from a user interface perspective. And we basically will be bringing more and more of these screens into into the system as we move forward, and basically bringing this together. And we will be seeking your feedback as we basically move through these different screens. And please provide us with the feedback, because the feedback that you provide will be essentially help us to kind of move this forward and basically take this into a positive manner and make it more useful for everyone. One thing which we are working on, and basically I know that these were comments which are basically placed on Slack saying that the reports are average, like this thing. We recognize it. We basically are working on more themes for reports. We will essentially come back to you with very good looking reports in the next the 2 to 3 weeks. Please bear with us for the next 2-3 weeks, and I'll give you a set of reports which basically you will be proud of of having. So we're just working through this process, and we will basically get there fairly quickly. So apart from that, the other fixes and features that we essentially kind of have been working on. For example, this is essentially one feature that a lot of people asked us for, which is the ability to look at who was the last user who logged onto a particular machine. So we essentially have this feature now where in every asset you can see who was the last logged on user. Second is that you can essentially kind of, on Linux machines, they wanted to define custom ports. So we provide you with the ability to define custom ports in the this thing. We've also added the OpenID connector, so as an authentication provider. Why? Because when you're basically dealing with SAML, etc., especially with ADFS, etc., it's easier to basically do the OpenID connection and then to essentially go through the entire process of setting up all of the applications and all of those pieces. So we have complete OIDC enabled in this, so you can essentially integrate with any SAML provider, including OneAuth, anybody else using this OpenID connector. So once you define the endpoint, you pretty much basically can give the client ID, client secret, and you can essentially use that for your authentication. The other feature that was basically asked, if you remember last week, was bulk delete tags. That is, I want to be able to delete multiple tags. And so basically at a company level, you can essentially, we have a new UI which says manage tags, and then you can choose multiple of these tags and then choose to delete them across wherever it is applied. So that essentially takes care of that requirement. And then we also have this ability to delete the tags at a global level. So you can essentially take this particular tag and then have it removed at a global level, where you remove it across all the companies. So you can manage tags not only at a company level, but at a global level. So, and once you basically bulk delete these tags, they will essentially ask you this. So what are the other things that we are working on? I already spoke to you about the new user interface that we are basically working on feverishly to get it out, because we understand that the current interface is dated. We spent a year in this interface, the current interface, and we want to basically give you the new interface, which is in line with the more modern user interface. The second is that we'll give you an initial preview of the PII scan so that you can give us feedback on how well it is doing. Third, we have the ability, which is in testing, to use Office 365 for you to send emails and reports. So right now we had two options, which is SMTP, or you could use our CyberSync SES email. Now you have the ability to use your own Office 365 account to basically do this. And also basically getting your reports stored in OneDrive folders. This is also a feature that we are essentially adding. So these are the things that we are essentially working up for next week. So this essentially kind of sums up the update for this week. I'm just going to quickly open up the screen. So I'll just go through all the questions. Um, Yeah, so Adam, my instance hasn't updated. So as I explained, this weekend it will get updated, and all of the features will be there. So this is something that we are uh, working on. Um, so Steve, also I had you had asked for a request where a graph showed a trend graph of the remediation plan in a report that would show a downward trend for the remediation plan. Yes, Steve, we are working on that. Um, there were some issues with the original data that we had, which basically made it not clear why not did not make it very the report did not look very accurate, and so now we fixed that. So now we can essentially put this in our new reports. So you will actually see this as part of the new reports that come up. So that's this thing. Uh, Dennis, the good news is you are able to recover quickly. Well, Dennis, our ideal situation is we should not be going down because we have a lot of redundancy built into the system. But what we've seen lately with AWS is that even if you have redundant systems, the failovers are not happening as per what they are what they are basically talking of or documenting. And that is something that we are basically kind of grappling with, especially, for example, Redis, right? So we have 4 nodes. And if one node basically runs out of memory, then it should essentially ideally switch over to the other nodes, but it does not. And that is essentially the problem. So Sean, the URL is basically status.mycyberscanners.com. Okay. Chris Lewis, our vanity URL still planned. Chris, the problem that I'll give you the exact problem statement we face. Vanity URLs, the problem is that I take your URL, you basically point it to me, right? So between the two domains, there needs to be like earlier you could do this because you could very easily kind of do a what is called a proxy pass and basically send it to the other domain. The problem right now is that I have to host your domain, and then I essentially have to integrate your domain with my backend services, because if I do it with the front end, then what happens with the front end services is you get what is called a CORS error. So basically it says that the origin of this request and the place where this request is going to is not the same place. So essentially that CORS error is basically what crops up, and then we essentially are not able to give these vanity URLs. So a simple CNAME redirection would work, but essentially if you want that URL to basically be working all the time, that requires basically us to essentially host a set of services where we will associate this particular virtual host over there, and then essentially forward everything into the backend, which will require writing all of those rules into our engine. And that is why basically it is taking us some time to essentially get that going, because that also will require infrastructure. So the question is, and then the point is that you also have a implication of cost and everything that comes up. But we are working on it. Uh, please be rest assured, by end of February, we'll basically get this sorted out. Okay. So for the new UI, Dennis, the timeline is essentially 8 weeks, by which we will essentially have the entire migration done. But during the course of the 8 weeks, we will essentially kind of walk through all the screens and basically make sure that everybody is comfortable with what we are presenting on those new screens. So, Adam, is it for both hosted and self-hosted? Yes, it's for everyone. So, click-through has been a big request. Yes, we have received this request from multiple customers, and everybody basically says the same thing, which is click-throughs, and the ability to do filters and click-throughs is essentially what we are focusing on. Patrick, sorry if I'm way behind. Has it been confirmed that pricing will change with the changes from Connect Secure from CCNS? Patrick, I don't think we have announced any changes in prices, so you can be rest assured. If there was anything, we would essentially come to this forum. Would it be possible to get an Azure AD authentication status screen at the global view? It seems we've had instances where Azure credentials need to be refreshed, and there's no way to tell other than seeing if there's no data in the customer's Azure AD dashboard. Adam, I think this is very valuable. Yes, I will basically get this done. So we can essentially provide this particular status. Yes, I will add this to the list of things that we do. And this basically is a very simple, straightforward fix. I will get this changed. In the new interface, is there a way to show that if a patch install was requested, for example, if there are 7 machines that need Adobe update and you select a patch icon, is there a way to show that either a ticket was created or a patch install was initiated? This could be on the remediation plan page. Yes, Steve, in the new user interface, in fact, this is there. It basically shows you in which stage each machine is and in which stage overall the progress is. So I'll actually kind of do one thing in the next week's meeting. I will essentially kind of present that page and then you can tell me if that meets this requirement. Yes, the Azure AD question, yes, we will basically do this. We'll basically pull it out separately as a top level alert, as well as basically put it in the table out there. Could you make available the ability to produce a global report across multiple clients that's written to a single file and stuff? We do have a set of global reports, Paul. So if you can essentially let us know which report specifically you're looking for globally writing out to a file, we'll write it out. The only reason is that if you take something like, say, an asset report basically could run into like in some cases, it already runs into thousands of pages. Now, if I do it at a global level, then it will be like probably 10,000 pages of this thing, which you cannot use. So if you let us know what kind of reports you would like from a global level, we are happy to basically put this, because I think it would be more of summary reports and those kinds of reports that you would do.
Yeah, thanks, Shiva. Do you want just email that directly, or how do you want? I've got a couple of use cases that are dependent on this.
Paul, in fact, if you could come on and basically tell us the use cases, we could, because as a partner committee, we all get it, like, so we can all.
Yeah. So our big use case is we're a ConnectWise shop and their deployment tool needs improvement. I'm going to be nice. And one way of using Cyber CNS to scan the network, compare against our agents that are deployed within ConnectWise and find the delta to know what's missing from an agent level. And so that's looking across all clients and basically comparing Windows, Linux, and Mac devices against ConnectWise agent deployments and find what needs to be caught.
Understood. So that I think is absolutely doable, Paul. So what we'll do is we'll create a couple of, we'll pick up a couple of these reports and build it at a global level. And if you don't mind, I'll have my team basically send those reports over to you for validation. And if you think they are good, then we'll basically start rolling out those reports one after the other. And as those requests come in, we'll basically keep adding more requests.
Great, thank you very much.
Mark, it will be basically hosted on portal. I don't know the URL for the new UI interface. So when it gets hosted, it will be portal.myconnectsecure.com. If you're talking about the status page, it is basically status.mycybercns.com right now, and it will also be available shortly on status.myconnectsecure.com. Is there a plan for a support ticketing system as opposed to email only support? The answer is we already have Freshdesk as the ticketing system, and you can basically submit tickets. In the new interface that we are basically building, we are essentially giving you the ability to kind of manage your tickets within your interface. We are in fact building a complete ticketing system into the tool itself so that we can manage it, because we ourselves are finding it very difficult to kind of we lose track of tickets that have been responded and managed, etc. So we are essentially building an interface which can allow us to be more efficient with tickets, and we will basically be putting that into the interface. So you can see the status of your tickets, everything within the tool itself. This is essentially what we're doing. The status page at status.mycybersyn.com is kind of hard to read. Gray on white is not the best combo. I'll work with the team, Mark, because this was essentially kind of a request that came in yesterday. So the team put out what they could today. We will basically make sure that it looks good by in the next few hours. Dennis, yes, it will be expanded, and we are basically going to add complete Wingate support, as well as basically a couple of other tools that we are basically evaluating right now. So we are basically focusing on patching, but patching will essentially be the focus for the month of February. This month, we are essentially focusing on getting the UI and getting all of the other fundamentals locked up over here, including the PII. Is the new UI coming to on-prem deployments? Absolutely. Anything that we do on cloud, we will have on-prem too. Is there a current guideline for creating the necessary account for CyberCNS to run AD? We have a complete document entry. I think we already sent it to you. We'll basically send it again, which is a document on what will be the minimal permissions for you to do a successful scan using CyberCNS on Active Directory. So that essentially is a document that we've already written and it's shared. For Cyber Essentials, it is happening. The Cyber Essentials is already, in fact, we have had a report that a couple of partners asked, and we basically sent out those reports today. So I will have them send the reports to you, Paul. If that basically meets your requirement, then very good. If else, please, we are happy to basically get your feedback and basically improve those reports and any compliances that we need to do. When we curl down the agent installers for deploying, there's 10-minute time limit for the downloader. Is it possible to change that time limit? Honestly, Jerry, this 10-minute timeout limit that we had to put was because of, like, if you remember last year, essentially somebody basically pulled out the URL, which was basically a static S3 URL, pulled our agent and then basically reported it as a malicious agent, and that essentially got us into a lot of problems at that particular point of time. That's the reason for why we basically have this 10-minute time limit built in. There is basically, we've given an API for certain people to essentially extend the parameter. If you would like that, I will essentially send you that piece so that you can essentially extend the parameter. So I think we've kind of covered most of this. And Steve had actually a question, which is about the turtle. So I see that Peter is here. Peter, you want to just basically talk about why the turtle and what is the choice, why the choice of turtle?
Yeah, sure. Hey Shiva, hey guys, how's it going? So the turtle is, as you know, we like animals here, and the turtle sort of symbolizes, a defensive creature, right? It's got the shell. Turtles, sea turtles in particular, are vulnerable and protected species. They help curate and nurture the coral reefs. And it also just sort of gives a friendly, little bug for the company. We just like the turtle. It's nice. Really, at the end of the day, that the shell and the defensive measures, and turtles have little dens and burrows and all that good stuff.
Perfect. So I think we are all caught up with Okay, Michael Robbins, Michael Robbins, you're already a contributor. I have a strong feeling that you have not looked at your email, so which is why basically you have not seen your message in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a direct 1-to-1 message from Beam that basically had your piece in there. Perfect. So I think we pretty much covered on everything. Yep. So if there's nothing else, then basically I will give back probably around 20 minutes of the call back to everyone. And we thank you all for basically making it today. And as I said, Michael Robbins, please look for an email a little later today or early tomorrow morning, because I just have to pull the mails from. Please check your spam also. You would basically see something in there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great day. Bye.